What's up, everybody? It's Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of thecreditrepairshop.com. And in today's video, we're going to talk about repairing your credit. I'm going to give you the real deal, no gimmicks. I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do to repair your credit. But before I get started with that, I got to say something. And this might, I hope it doesn't end up messing up my channel with YouTube. I've been studying the algorithms and I've been looking at what types of videos go, what type of videos don't go. And one of the things that I noticed, and I'm just gonna say it, is that I don't know if the platform is really wanting to give people in this space solutions, because what I see promoted and the algorithm promotes it is that when it comes to credit repair, it's more about gimmicks and it's more about adding on debt. And when you combine those two together, you get people who complain about saying that, I tried these gimmicks and either they worked and then stuff ended up coming back on them. And sometimes it came back on them to hurt them with their credit repair process, or the gimmicks just didn't work. And I'm not about gimmicks. I'm about doing hard work. And from what I'm seeing on the platform, any time I make videos about doing hard work, the viewership goes down, but it's not due to people like you that are watching it. I believe it's due to the algorithm, because I know this a little bit off topic, but this is everything is everything to me. Like, we're connected as people, and things that are happening in other industries are connected also. There's a lot of videos that are out there about credit repair, but there's also a lot of videos about people who are, let's just say, in the music industry, or actors or comedians, where they were told, hey, you need to do this or we're not going to promote you, your career is going to be over. And you're like thinking, like, could that actually be true? And then now, because the platforms are available for people to speak, if it's not getting censored, they're actually saying it. Like, they're actually, I saw Lady Gaga and I was like, is this a true video, or is this like a fake video with her saying that for her to be in the industry, that there were some things that it was like selling her soul? And I was like, is this true? Like, I'm thinking to myself, is she literally on her saying that? And, so it's crazy. So to relate that with credit repair, I'm real. I went through it. I went through having my credit destroyed. I went through having to repair my credit. It took 5 years for me to get out of debt and to get my credit repaired. What I went through during that period of time is exactly what I do and teach my clients right now about credit repair, about getting out of debt. And I'm not going to stay here if it requires me to come up with gimmicks and make gimmick videos leading people down trails that is not going to get them to where they want to be in their life. I'm in my office here. People can come into my office. I have full-time employees that have worked for this company, that provide for their families. I don't want to have gimmicks out there when these people depend on feeding their family, paying their rent, paying their mortgage, paying their car payment, paying their credit card bills. So I built a company. I didn't build a channel to get views, just to get you to go out there to get into more trouble. I'm just not going to do that. And if YouTube chooses to take the channel down, then so be it. I do have my own platform that is totally independent of everything. Not Google, not YouTube, not Facebook, nothing. I built it. I invested it in it, and it cost me $50,000 to build it. And if you want to go on there, it's called Raw News USA. You can download that app, and I do place information videos on there also. And maybe I might have to move everything over there. So let's get into it. To repair your credit, like get your pen and paper out. I'm going to walk you through how to repair your credit. And I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do to repair your credit. And it's not going to be a gimmick. So don't think it's not going to be like I'm just giving you some sugar for you to eat and hype you up, and then all of a sudden it's like, you thinking that this stuff is going to happen overnight, like it's going to be some type of quick fix high. This is not going to be that video. This is going to be a video that's going to take you through what we do here at the Credit Repair Shop, and I'm going to kind of really, this video is going to prepare you to be able to fight for your credit, to be able to fight and to have it within you to go back and forth, because it's going to take work. It's going to take reading documents. It's going to take understanding your situation. So let's look at it right here. When you're trying to repair your credit, the first thing you need to do, and a lot of people for some reason are very fearful about this. And that's why I always bring up that I went through it, because I know how it can feel to say, okay, I want to repair my credit. I'm tired of getting denied. I know some of the stuff that's on my credit report. Maybe I know all of the stuff that's on my credit report. So I'm going to take it from the bottom up to probably where you're at in your credit repair journey. The first, the hardest people for us to deal with here at the Credit Repair Shop, and I'm going to kind of talk to you about our experience, because we really do this as a company, as a business, not as a gimmick, is some people have a fear of the knowing. Like, I don't want to know. And this happens with other things in our life, but there are people who, when we say, okay, they know that their credit is messed up, but then we say, you got to get those reports, we got to get that data, that they are so afraid that they won't even allow us to help them get their credit reports, because they don't want to see the mountain. It's like you may know that there's a mountain that you got to climb. There are some people that don't even want to look at that mountain, because inside they believe that it cannot be done. So the first thing that we got to do is we got to gather that data, and we want to look at the negative, and we want to look at the positive, we want to look at the scores. Now, reason why we want to look at the negatives and the positive, you might be saying, well, Steve, why do you want to look at the positive credit? If it's positive, we don't got to do anything about it. Reason why you want to look at the positive information is because you want to see how that individual is living their life. See, if it was all just about negative, then we're going to be like, okay, well, then all you do is negative things. You don't do anything positive. And of course, you do things that are positive, and you may have negative information on your credit report. And I always say that your credit report is not you. It represents how you handle your money, represents how you pay your bills. It encompasses that, but it is not you, because when you end up having perfect credit, good credit, excellent credit, whatever level you want to get to, are you going to change as a person? You might say, well, you have more confidence and all of that. But I would tell you, never define yourself by external things like a credit report or how much money you have. You need to be the same person regardless, because then if you're the same person regardless, no matter what is going on, because there's going to be ups and downs. But if you remain the same individual, strong on the inside, it'll just be some ups and downs, but you just remain consistent, and you will see that your life will be a lot easier. So we want to see the negatives because we want to see what's going on. We want to see the positives because we want to see how you're living your life. You want to see the scores because that's basically the way that you're going to base success, is off of those scores. And now, real quick, I want to clarify something about with dealing with scores with credit during the credit repair process. one of the things that people get confused with the credit repair process is that they believe that their scores should automatically jump up because they remove negative information is removed off their credit reports. That is not always the case. That is not always the case. That's why we want to know how you're living your life with the positive. Because if number one, if you don't have positive stuff on your reports, or you're not managing your positive credit the right way, maybe you're making all the payments, but you're utilizing too much of the credit. Like you got a credit card, $2,000 balance, and every month $2,000 limit, and every month you're using $1,800. Your scores, no matter what, when you remove those negative items, yes, they're going to go up a little bit, but it's not going to probably go up in the manner that you thought that it should go up. And that's why we want to make sure that we're teaching you, that you understand that no matter what, all of this stuff matters with your credit. Because some people think that they could just keep doing what they're doing, even with their positive stuff, overusing their cards, doing all types of stuff to keep high balances, and then just get rid of the negative stuff. Just get the negative stuff away and I'll be good. And it's not just about that. That's where people start to have a bad experience, because they're like, you did get rid of the negatives, but my scores didn't go up. So you got to be educated about the reasons why your scores could be down. And we do that in our review. We're going to look at the positive information. We're going to look at your scores. We're going to look at the negative. We're going to give you a worksheet on some of the things that you need to work on during your credit repair process. The next thing is your goals and your specific situation. So if we're looking at the goals, like some of the people, I always tell my reps, or if I'm speaking to someone, what is your specific goal? Because if you're trying to buy a house in 2 to 3 months, then your credit repair process is going to be totally different than someone who is just saying, hey, I just need to get this stuff cleaned up because I want to, get my score. I just want to get myself right. That's a totally different credit repair process than someone who is trying to buy a house in 2 to 3 months. Just so you know this, in case you didn't know, if you have negative information on your credit reports, and let's just say it's a collection for $100, and you dispute that information, and then you go to try to get a mortgage, that single dispute mark, having that account in dispute, will automatically trigger a denial of that application, even with that minimal amount. So if you are looking to buy a home, you need to do a full review of your credit reports and any negative information that's on there. It could be small items. Like I've seen people who have had some of the smallest items on their small medical collections for a couple of $100. And I'm like, you're trying to buy a house and you don't want to take care of that negative collection. Don't dispute it. Get on the phone with them, or have our company get on the phone with them, negotiate it, and then the item will be removed the right way so it doesn't come up in the underwriting process, because in the underwriting process, they're going to be able to see that information, and you want to make sure that it's 100% resolved because you want to get that house. So that's knowing your specific situation and knowing your goals. Now, when you have that down, like honest with yourself, with no gimmicks, no tricks, none of that stuff, we want to just have a clean credit repair process. Full understanding, because if you understand each piece, which is what we do for our customers, is we want to describe each section of your credit repair process so you will know where you're at, what's going on, your goals, how your goals have to match this specific credit repair process. It will help your experience be a lot better, and it will prepare you on what you need to do. So the next thing is we want to look at that personal information. We want to make sure that there's no aliases, we don't misspellings, none of that. You want to get all of your information the same with your name, the way it's stated, across the board on all three reports. That's very important. You may be thinking that, oh, they made that mistake, or I didn't make that mistake, they made that mistake. It doesn't matter. If they make the mistake, they put it on your report. The report is about you. So if they make a mistake by typing it in wrong on the application, or you put your middle initial on one application, or you got married and then it got flipped over, all of whatever that is, whatever that situation is, you still want to get that personal information corrected. And then and part of the personal information is your addresses, your job, everything on there. You need to just look at that. Like if you get the credit monitoring report that we have, it's going to give you a little summary. And in that summary, it's going to have your personal data. It's going to have your date of birth. It's going to have your job, addresses, all of that stuff. That stuff is very important. Just imagine this. There's an application. You put in an application, and they're feeding this stuff through computers. And everything that doesn't match is going to be like a little X, like X, 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 X. But just imagine this. If everything matches on your application that you filled out and everything matches on your credit report, how smooth would it just fly through there with check marks? Imagine that. That's what you have to think about. Like when you're thinking about, okay, how do I make sure that I have the smoothest process when I'm trying to get approved for something? That is the way that you do it. You make sure that everything that you control is right. And then when you go to apply for something, that matches, and it'll just slide through there smooth. But and I'm talking about after you get your credit repaired, but that's still part of the process on making sure that your personal information is right. Now, your debt to income ratio. This is not specifically shown on your credit reports, but this is something that every creditor who runs your credit knows. And you might be saying, well, Steve, how do they know this? How do they know if I'm making $100,000 a year or $50,000 a year? How do they know? And how are they balancing that up against my account that I'm trying to add on there? So say, for instance, you're going to try to buy a car. It's going to add monthly payments to your credit. It's going to show a monthly payment of about $500. And they're like, okay, look at this debt to income ratio. They're paying a mortgage. They got these credit cards, and they had another car and some student loans, and now they want to add another payment for $500. And you're like thinking, how will they even, put that together? If it's going to stretch. I'm going to be stretching doing it. We've all stretched, but I can do it. Well, they're going to make a determination, and they may end up giving you the loan, but they're going to give you a high interest rate, which will put you in a worse situation. But how do they know your income? They know it from the applications that you fill out. They know it from the mortgage applications that you filled out. They want to see how much of your income is being spent on payments, and then they have this little estimator on what it's costing you for groceries and gas and necessities for the home that are not really like bills that you have to pay, but it's stuff that we got to pay for and buy every month. They look at that stuff. So this is again goes back to my example. You want to make sure that your information is going to go into that application process as smooth as possible. And if you have too much debt, which we're going to talk about in a second, too much debt, and that goes to your positive side, you got to fix that, because it's going to affect you when you start to go and try to get a loan or whatever you're going to try to do. And then you want to make sure that your job and all of that stuff is is correct on there. The next thing, and also real quick on that job part, have you ever wondered why on the application they'll say how long you've been at your current employer? So if you have moved to another employer, but it's been more than 2 years and it just doesn't show on there the way that it should show, maybe you haven't been applying for credit and you didn't put that new employer's information on there, then it could have your old employer, or it could have an employee, and it could not be updated, and it might look like you're just switching jobs when you put that new employer on that application. You have the old one, you put the new one, and you may have been at the new one for years, but you just haven't went out there and applied for any credit because your credit is messed up and you know that you got to get it fixed, so you just haven't been applying for anything. And then you did a new application and you put the new job on there, and they're like, how long you been at this job? And you might mark the period of time on the years, but when it's going through that process of getting approved, what is it looking at? It's like, well, they didn't have it marked on their reports. Yeah, they're putting it on this, and yes, we're going to update, but it's making another X on there. And you want to avoid as many of those X's as possible. The next thing is the negative information, a strategy. Put together a strategy to deal with the negative information on your credit reports. And I'm not talking about doing any gimmicks. I'm talking about looking at it and getting the story behind it. That's why we always say that specific situation, and we're going to say, okay, well, what went down? Let me just say it like it is from, tell me what went down with that negative information. People will say, hey, lost my job, family member, my mom got sick. Like, we dig deep to find what's going on with those stories, because there's different types of solutions that you can go after depending on what happened. Like, if it's a legitimate medical issue, maybe we might have a hardship situation. Maybe we might have a settlement situation that we can try to move forward on. But also, we got to know what your specific situation is, because if you don't have any money, then that process is going to take a lot longer to deal with, because you can't go into a settlement process. So now let's go to here. I want to kind of demonstrate with what we do here and what you can do. So when dealing with your negative information, this is something that you got to keep in mind. You're sending your stuff out to the bureau. This is all the stuff. This TransUnion Equifax Experian. You're sending your stuff after you've evaluated what your strategy is going to be to get that information removed. Just to tell you, these are the things that you got to watch out for. And you can make these types of letters yourself. Just use plain English. I'm just going to tell you straight up plain English on what you should do. And if you want to get letters like these, I have a membership course that has a letter that I've put together that I actually built the credit repair shop on. And then if you need more detailed help where you want someone to do the work for you, then you can come to us. But I'm going to give you some pointers on how you need to construct your letter. So first thing is you got to look at the negative information. You have to look at, is this information accurate on your credit reports? Like, is it accurate? It could be an account that you had, but has it been sold? If it was sold, then they should say that the account has been paid for less, because they accepted a payment for that. If it's not sold, then you need to look at it and look at the balances and say, well, this specific information this is not what I remember this account being. Even if it's a closed, charged off account, there could be issues with the account. But what if it is? Then that goes to your goals. What your specific situation might be is that you might move to go ahead and do a settlement with that account, and then you would move to get that account placed on your credit reports that it's paid for less, because once it's marked that way, then it won't harm you, and then you can deal with trying to get that information removed. So, but this is what is going to happen when you try to repair your credit. So you have your negative information. You reviewed what's going on with each of those items. If it's a collection, charge off, if it's sold to a debt collector, not sold to a debt collector, you've determined which way you want to go after this. If it's the first thing that you got to do is you need to understand that when you send that information to the bureaus to review, they're going to do an internal review, and they may come back and say that it's verified. Even if you know that information is not verified. So we always do this. This is why we do it, is that we also send that information to the furnisher. This F represents furnisher. Furnishers put the information on your credit reports. The credit bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, what their job is to do is to gather that information. But did you know that these are their customers? So they make money. TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, they make money from these furnishers. So what they do, even though it is required by them by law to not just get information and say it's verified, but because of what the world that we live in with the gimmicks and all of the different tricks and stuff that people try to play with dealing with credit bureaus, they have it written into the law that if they believe that something is verified, that they could just spit that out with their AI computer, which or their with their computer. But now we want to say AI, but they could just say that the information is verified and just send that information back over to you. Send that right back over to you, saying, "Hey, it's verified. It's verified." That's what they do, even though you know that it's not verified. What we do at the credit repair shop is that we go directly to the furnishers. We go directly with the bureaus. But I think what really sets us aside is that we're specifically looking at a resolution that could potentially be done. So just like I mentioned earlier, if you have a collection with a debt collector, why deal with the bureaus when we know that they're going to say, well, the points of data points from the furnisher to put that information on your credit reports, that's verified. So they're not going to even do anything about it. Like, it's just like you're just falling right into their trap. But if you know that the furnisher, and that's why you got to get your complete credit reports so you can see the specific address that furnisher information was sent from, then you can go directly to that furnisher with that letter stating, I want you to tell me everything about this account. How did you get this account? Why did you put this on my credit reports? Now, you know that they're going to say, hey, we sent you a letter and you disregarded that letter. That's what they're going to say. But you're going to say, I want a complete accounting of this, because you're not going to, this is in your mind about the because, but you want a complete accounting of that because in your own, what you're saying to yourself, because you're going to be coming to a resolution on this because you might want to get a house. To them, you're going to be like, hey, I want you to just prove everything on there. I'm disputing this account because, number one, I never had a contract with you. I don't know who you are, and I want you to prove to me every portion of this amount that you're claiming. And then they are supposed to get that information over to you. But if they don't get that information over to you, then they're supposed to get that information removed from your credit reports. Now, dealing with furnishers, there's several levels. That's what makes this whole thing hard. With dealing with furnishers, it can depend on, did they just send you that letter, that Dunning letter? Like, did they just send it to you and then they put that information on your report without giving you the opportunity to dispute? Maybe they sent that Dunning letter, you didn't respond to it, but you have a copy of that letter, or you tell them to send you a copy of that letter that they claim to send you, enabling you to be able to dispute it, and you look at it and it's like, hey, you shared my information with a third-party mailing service. You violated the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. You need to get that information off of my credit reports. So when you send that to the bureaus, they're not going to do anything with that. You send that to the furnisher because you've looked at, you've gathered more data about what you can do about that specific account. And you're like, hey, this letter that you sent to me was sent from a third party mailing service, and you're not allowed to do that. You have to send that to me. And then the other thing is, when you look at that letter from that debt collector, did they actually give you the opportunity to dispute a part of the debt or any part or all of the debt? Did they make it look like you had no alternative other than just to pay them? So these are like the little things that you got to go through when you start to really drill down in your credit repair process. Now, let me give you a quick way to get to to that point, because I know what you're thinking. I already know what you're thinking. That you're like, Steve, just give me a letter and let me see how I could do this and wrap all of this stuff up. But it's not that easy, but it is that easy. And let me tell you the way that I figured this whole thing out for myself, and then how I kind of built this into a company, is that when you get, you have your negative information, you have your specific way that you're going to, what you believe is inaccurate about the information that you have with that specific negative information. So you have your negative information, you have your beliefs about what you believe is inaccurate about that information. You just simply write that out in a letter. You send that to the bureaus, you send that to the furnisher. You're going to get a response usually within 2 weeks from the furnisher. And from that is where really the work is going to start, because you're going to be able to know if the furnisher is going to say, hey, we couldn't prove this and we're going to get this off your reports, we apologize. And they will do that. Or they may say, hey, this is what we sent you. And then you go into that next step that I just talked about, where you evaluate what they had sent you so you can start the process of working directly at them on proving the contract, proving everything about the claimed amount, all of that stuff. Like, you are really going to be doing a lot of the work right here, and then they will actually start doing the work to get that information removed off your credit reports. Not to say that you shouldn't send it to the bureaus, because some of the times they may not take you fully serious if you don't send it through the bureaus, because they know that you're like, if you sent it to them over here and then you sent it to here and the bureau did get that information, it bypassed that verification process because of the way that you crafted your letter in plain English saying, hey, there is no proof of me having this account with them. Then it's going to pass that verification process and get to that furnisher, and that furnisher is going to know, hey, we got these 3 bureaus that they're telling us, hey, you need to check this out. We need more details on that. And then they know that you sent it to them stating, hey, you need to get more details about that information, because if you don't prove that, I want that information removed off of my credit report. So now let's review. Listen to me. Let's review. You got your negative information. Let's just say that it's an old credit card debt. You look at that credit card debt and you know that that credit card debt has not been, let's just say that the credit card debt has been sold to a debt collector. So step one, let's write our notes. Step one. Let's go step one. We had a credit card debt, so the first thing we're going to do with that credit card debt is we're going to look at the statute of limitations. And what we're doing is we're gathering all of our data about that specific account. We're going to look at the balances. We're going to look at any disputes that you might have had with the original creditor. This is everything that you're doing with the original creditor. And then with that account has been sold to a debt collection company. So now you want to make sure with that debt collection company is you want to look at well, even before we go with the contract, we want to make sure that you had the opportunity to dispute with that original creditor. I mean, not with the original creditor, that you had the opportunity to dispute with the furnisher. So did they send you the Dunning letter? Did they send that? In that Dunning letter, was it sent by a third party? Or was it sent by the furnisher? If you responded to them, most people don't respond, but I'm just going to throw this in. If you got that letter, they say you have 30 days to respond, and you responded to them, they have 5 days to respond back. Did they follow that rule? So if they did not follow that rule and I'm talking about the furnisher, if the furnisher did not follow that rule with that 5-day rule, you can simply write them a letter back, and you can also notify the bureaus that this information was not verified within the 5-day rule according to the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. So now let's just say that they did verify. They sent you a letter back saying, hey, this is an account. We purchased it from such and such credit card company. Now the next step that you're going to start doing, and need to make some room here. They did verify, so now you want to get the contract with the furnisher. Show me the contract that I have with you. They're going to send you some information about buying the debt portfolio. On the debt portfolio, does it show your name? Does it show your name, complete account number? Does it show a complete account number? Does it show you a complete audit of all charges, interest rates, PIN code, or signature of all charges claimed? I'll just put claim. Of all the charges that they're claiming to come up with that claim dollar amount. When I say claim dollar amount, that would be the amount owed, that they say you owe. Does all of this here prove that they gave you in documentation, not just one statement? Everything that they gave you in documentation, does that amount to that claimed amount? Do they have all of that detail? The next thing is you want to see if there was a 1099-C that was provided by the original creditor. You're going to call the IRS, ask them if that original creditor, that credit card company, filed a 1099-C on that original balance. Now, one way that you can also check to see if there's a potential 1099-C filed by the original creditor is to look at your credit reports, because in the comment section, it can say canceled. Whenever you see the word canceled and you did not cancel the account, but they canceled the account, this could potentially mean that there was a 1099-C that was filed. So now we have a whole bunch. Look at this. Now, look at this real quick. You're asking Steve, what about the letters? I need this letter. I need it. I just gave you the outline. The outline. You can actually take any one of these, depending on your situation, and you could utilize it in crafting a letter, and you're just specifically stating what you're asking for. So if it's not past the legal statute of limitations, and you don't agree with the balance, you did not, or you do have disputes with the original creditor. We've had people where credit card companies closed out accounts and they had disputes with those credit card companies about some of the charges, and the credit card company just disregarded it, said, hey, we're going to get back with you, and then all of a sudden they look up and the account was closed out, and now they're just saying you just owe the money. If you had any of those disputes, you need to write those down, and you could put that in your letter to the debt collector saying, hey, I had disputes with these accounts. I want you to give me an audit of all of the charges that have my approval or my PIN code or my signature, because I had disputes with that original creditor. And just because you bought the debt, that doesn't mean that you just get to take their word on it. You assume the responsibility, and you need to have that documentation and provide that to me if I'm asking for it. Also, depending on your situation, did they provide you that 30-day letter? If they didn't provide that to you and it just showed up on your credit reports, it can happen. More than likely, it does not happen, but you never know. But if you don't have that letter, then you could potentially get that information removed strictly because of that. You could just notify them, hey, I was never notified about this, and you put this information on my credit reports. Now, they may send you the letter. Then when you get that letter, you want to make sure, was it sent by a third party? or did the furnisher send it? And then looking at that letter, did that letter kind of look to try to confuse you to make you think that that letter was a legitimate debt? Because really, that letter is just to notify you of a debt collector trying to attempt to collect a debt if you don't dispute any or all of the debt. That's what it's saying. And it needs to be in the same font size, the same type size as the other information on the letter. They can't have the other stuff at the top big. Hey, we bought this from this credit card company. This is who we are. This is how much you owe. And then down below, they have it in small print, like it's some type of contract, small print, that you can dispute any or part of the debt. They cannot do that. So you want to review that information. And if you see that violation, you can simply just write them a letter saying you are in violation just by the way that you presented that letter to me. Now, if they do get you that letter and you respond, they have 5 days to get that information back to you. So now you can see the work that we've done with the furnisher, and then off of this work that's done with the furnisher could move to get that information removed. We have gotten letters where they sent back, we're going to remove it. We apologize. Like, they will use those words. We apologize for any inconvenience. We are immediately updating, and that information will be removed, and we are ceasing collection activities with your client. So, and then they would get that information over to the credit reporting agencies. But you would still, just to back yourself up, to make your credit repair process potential more successful, is any of these inaccuracies or issues that you have with dealing with the furnisher, you would want to notify the bureaus, because when you notify them specifically about those issues, and that's different than what they've getting all these template letters from, then they're going to say, hey, we're going to do something about that. We're going to send that to the furnisher. We're not going to remove it right away. We're going to send it to the furnisher and see what the furnisher comes back and say. That process can take 30 to 45 days when they send it out. The furnishers, even if they decide to remove that account, that can still take up to 30 days. It just depends on what time of the month they decide to make that decision, because they upload their information on a monthly basis also. So this is the process. This is the stuff that you're looking for when you're dealing with collection accounts. And if you're dealing with another type of account, you can go through the same type of process to see what is inaccurate, how your strategy that you're gonna put in place to get that information removed, to deal with the furnisher, to deal with the bureaus, and to get that information removed, and to get that information, more importantly, removed forever. Now, if you're still here watching this video, tell me if you go through all of this and you have your strategy in place and you find where the door is open for you to be able to deal with that, for our example, that credit card debt, do you think that information would ever end up back on your credit report? So that takes us out of the category of having gimmicks and takes us into the category fully, which is where we've always been, which is a complete credit repair services process. So if you need help with your credit, please visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch the video, What Makes Us Different, so you can see my 8-point validation process, my 2-phase settlement process. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website, 3scores.com. Grab your TransUnion, Equifax, Experian credit reports, and all 3 scores. If you have debt collectors coming after you, grab my 3-pack of letters. Statute of limitations letter. You do not need to do a debt validation if a debt is past the legal statute of limitations to collect in your state. You can go to my website, thecreditrepairshop.com, go to my blog, and you will see, type in statute, you will see the statute of limitations for all 50 states. If the debt is not past the legal statute of limitations to collect, I will give you a letter that will help you get started on this process right here, because you're going to need to get that first. Remember, I said you're going to need to get that first letter from them. Either they sent it and you missed it, or you need to request it so you can get that letter, so you can start that third party to see if it was sent by a third party or if it was sent by the furnisher. So the link is below this video. You can grab my 3-pack of letters. I do ask for a donation on those. It helps monetize my time for making these videos. Um, those letters can literally save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, and frustration. Like, just think, if a debt collector is trying to come after you and you use that letter and it stops them, your mind is clear. It's over with. You've taken care of it out of this process. They're going to get that information removed. I think that would be of value to you. Please subscribe to the channel. Post your questions and comments.